Hey guys, William Jordan here for ConsciousRaisingArt.co, uh, broadcasting live from the beautiful downtown Newark, New Jersey. And today I have a very special topic I want to talk to you about today, as you know, is Music Monday. And I'm going to take a ride, a stroll down the jazz scene in Pittsburgh, PA, back in the 30s and 40s. And our little talk today is based upon this video. Now, the lady you see there, that's Mary Lou Williams. She's one of the top pianists around, and she was known for having sort of even the playing field for women in music. But back in the day, back in these days, 30s and 40s, back in Pittsburgh, when these guys were kicking it, man, they had all women bands, they had women and men in the bands. It was like fantastic. Not only, and the thing about it was, this was in a part of the PA they called the Hill. And apparently in the Hill, we had people from all ethnic groups, all religious groups, all, whatever. Just everyone was playing together in the same thing. Now, what I want to really hone in on is the fact that these jazz musicians, and usually we associate jazz with a particular color, but in Pittsburgh at that time, the educational system was sort of like integrated. That means that everybody got the same education. And one of the things that was prominent in those days was music. And the kind of music that came out that was taught was classical music. And I got this video from a friend of mine, about my age, who, when he was taught music in high school, in grammar school, wherever he learned it, he was taught the classics, the Ravels, the Debussy's, the Mozart, all those guys, he knew them. And it wasn't just about a color thing. Everybody knows that, and that from that period, right? How is this relevant to a conversation today? Not about color, not about race, not about any particular music thing. Well, what happened to jazz in Pittsburgh is what's happened to the United States of America. Okay, and let's lay it out. I'm going to talk about socially. There was you have social ramifications, you have political, economic, you have some military implications, geographic and technical implications. Socially, I would say that as the jazz scene in Pittsburgh was, because of the location, it was a cosmopolitan society, more so than places like, someplace in Kansas, okay? Because here's the deal: New York, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Boston, all these cities, and I'm talking about cities in that time, in that time frame, talking about the migration from the south to the north, where they were on rivers, they were on tributaries. That's important because, I never thought of it, but where you have these rivers coming together, where you have people settling on rivers, the society tends to be more cosmopolitan, all right, as opposed to someplace in the hinterlands. And this cosmopolitan environment spawns a unique life force, a unique energy, a unique society, all right? And consequently, in this case, it spawned this thing called jazz. Now, I was always amazed at how these jazz musicians could be so articulate, so well groomed and refined. And the reason why I'm saying that, because out of Pittsburgh came Art Blakey, Earl Father Hines, came out, let's see who else, George Benson, and Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn at 16 was composing things that were to last forever. But out of 16, he had learned his chops, in the public high school. The same public high schools that we say now are, menial, marginal. They're not putting out great people. And we'll get into that in a minute. But first, what I want to do is get back to the thing. So we have the type of society that we're talking about, right? I'm getting this call. I can't take a call now. We're getting into a society that time was sort of in Pittsburgh in particular. That was in the jazz scene. The jazz scene is a cosmopolitan jazz scene, okay? A cosmopolitan scene. And maybe that's why a lot of people didn't like it. They wanted to destroy it, but that's another story. So, in a society sense, Pittsburgh was, a multicultural event, particularly in the jazz scene. And I'm saying that to say, what we're going to do is look at what happened in Pittsburgh and transpose that to other areas of the country, and we can see there's a domino effect. It's not just a one-off thing. So now, we're not going to get too much into the political because I don't really know that part. But economically, we had a lot of thriving businesses on that street they called the Hill. Particularly a lot of thriving black businesses. And I guess they were probably, they were mom and pop stores and a lot of nightclubs, okay? And religiously, a lot of the music was from the church, and there was a line that was almost imperceptible because people would go to the juke joint on Saturday night and they carry that over into the churches on Sunday. Same musical thing, and it's still going today, as I understand it. All right. So the picture I'm trying to paint is that because of this classical training in the public high schools, we have, I guess, a juggernaut, a great supply of these talented musicians that are going all around the place. Particularly like Art Blakey, he was revered even in Japan. Oh, I forgot, we had Stanley Turrentine as well. The sax man, brilliant player. These great musicians coming out of one place, and Mary Lou Williams in particular. So, what am I getting to? Well, this was going on for a while, and I was at a park yesterday, and I met a young saxophone player, and I asked him questions. Did he know certain musicians, and he didn't know them. And a friend of mine next to me was saying, well, it's a generational thing. They don't know that. It's generational. We're in a different generation. And in my thinking, if you're a jazz musician, guys like Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt. You know all these guys because you study the instrument, and these guys are great players. But the point I'm getting at is that there is a difference. There's a difference in the kind of, and the purpose of this type of training, I was told, was that we're trying to cultivate cultured people, right? We want people to be, well-versed in culture, because it fit into that type of lifestyle, into the lifestyle of, working in steel mills or whatever they were doing there, all right? Now, here's an interesting thing. This music was primarily I would call it a two-stage tier. Prior to around the First World War was the first stage. And the reason why it's the first stage is because, as you notice, that during the World Wars I and II, all the eligible white men were sent to the army. It was left a vacuum in the plants. Now, in Pittsburgh, and in many places, women filled that void. But in Pittsburgh, where they took a lot of men out of the foundries, we had to have manpower, okay? And so there came people from the South, primarily from, I think they said Alabama, maybe Georgia, migrating up to places like Pittsburgh to work in the foundries, the hot, steamy mills, right? And with them came that Southern sound, the blues sound. Now, how does that relate to the overall sound in general? Well, there was another migration or immigration of people out of Virginia. They were slaves, but the people that were holding them as slaves were more cultured in the sense that they taught the slaves classical music. And so when these prior slaves moved, they moved on to Pittsburgh with that knowledge. And so with the two, you have a combination of the field stuff, the blues stuff, the raw stuff, and you have the sophistication. and it comes out as a very, prolific, profound, energetic form called jazz. Not that these guys created jazz, but, they were participating in what we call jazz. And, we went into that last week about the name of jazz, what that means, what it meant, okay? But moving right along. So now you have this group of people, and now you have them, fairly sophisticated, fairly cultured, and that means they can think, okay? Now, looking at the way life is progressing today, and compared to then, in terms of education in particular, we don't have that. We don't have, many schools do not have a very vigorous music program, right? Why, I don't know. But my theory is this, is that with the music and the sophistication and that type of, preparation to do something after high school, people are not going to be as, could I say, as fearful. Our society is based upon fear. You get out of high school today, what are you going to do? You're not prepared, you're not ready, you're not confident. There's a particular job, very rarely. Here's the catch. Well, if you don't go to college, you're going to have to work at McDonald's. What? No, I got to go to college. And then when you go to college, right, what happens? You get into debt. And you're not still sure there'll be a job waiting for you after college. Not a job commensurate with your training. Right? You're going to be paid less for the, not as what you should be getting paid. That's the system set up. And now we have complaints now about the public education system. Why, it's not producing the quality student that we want. Well, the reason why is because the system has set it up that way. The system has set it up that says we don't need the jazz-type prepared people from Pittsburgh in our system any longer. We're not in that business anymore. We ship things offshore. We have new skills that we believe we need. We don't really want people to be too sophisticated, too cosmopolitan. We want them to be middle of the road, not to think too much, right? Not to have thinking skills. Now, perhaps I'm oversimplifying, but I want you to look at this. Just look at the major cities that are in tributaries, right? The tributaries are more cosmopolitan. The cities that are not cosmopolitan, and we have a higher situation of today. Our education system in these areas is really poor, the public education system, because there's no place that these guys are going to go after work, after high school, except to go to college to try to get a job there. And then when you get a job, you get in debt in college, and you still get out, you may not have a job. Insecurity, this is what we're breeding now. So what I'm saying is just look at what happened to Pittsburgh was it was destroyed. It was destroyed by racial tensions, by political machinations, redistricting. It was all destroyed. And the education system stopped teaching that type of music, that type of preparation. I won't even call it music. They stopped preparing students for that particular lifestyle. And we always want to know, why are not our students getting the best quality education they can? Because the system has designed it that way. The only thing that and I'm not faulting the system, they think they know what they're doing. But the question is, what are you preparing students for? What? If, we know that in Silicon Valley, a large number of people who work there are from foreign countries. We could prepare our people here if we wanted to. We're not preparing people. It's something crazy going on in the air and the water. But just look at it. Look on the East Coast, look on the West Coast. All the seaport towns have a similar characteristic, right? Where you have people that used to be able to think musically, and I'll say musically because that's one of the pinnacles of society, yet now they can't. We have a different form of music, and I'm not going to get into that, but it's not sophisticated. It's not something that is lyrical. It's basically a monotone system with words that I find somewhat objectionable. But that's not neither here nor there. So what happened in Pittsburgh is what happened to the United States. Okay, with that, hope you got my message. I know it's kind of rambling, convoluted, but the point I'm trying to make is that The music is a reflection of the culture. All right? So the culture then was a very, sophisticated culture. The music now is not. The culture now is not sophisticated. We even encourage vulgarity. We use vulgarity as a common format, and it's no problem. I think I take exception with that. I think we should purge ourselves from vulgarity and try to be, use other expressions to express ourselves. All right? That being said, this is William Jordan here, Conscious Raising Art, broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Newark, New Jersey. Join us on consciousraisingart.co. Check us out there to get some ideas about what you'd like to give your loved ones for the holidays coming up. All right? There you go. Peace out.